Thank you for that magical gift you give us. And welcome all to Unity of Lawrence. Here at Unity, we celebrate the source in all of us, the light, the love. And we also like to begin our service with prayer. So let's take a centering breath and open to the divine in all of us as we listen to this prayer. We celebrate the divine source that lives and breathes within us. We accept ourselves without judgment and accept each other. We acknowledge our place in the environment and care for our sacred mother. We carry light. Share peace, and live with you one-on-one. If there's anything in your heart to be held in prayer, we invite you to see Karen, our chaplain for today, after the service at the front of the sanctuary. And thank you, Karen Langsford, for your chaplain service. And now we also love, here we are in a singing circle, so it's time to sing. And let's join Holly in singing, "We Come Together in the Name of Love," standing as we would love to and are able. Take a look at the person next to you. Say, "God loves you and I love you too." Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together in the name of love. We come together, we come together, we come together in the name of love. Now look at the person next to you. Say, "I recognize the God in you." Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together in the name of love. We come together, we come together, we come together in the name of love. Now let's turn and greet each other safely with a bow and elbow bump. creed and color as we reunite. We'll honor the God in each other. Take a look at the person next to you. Say namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. And lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love, we come together, we come together, we come together. In the name of love. Woo. We sure do, and we are blessed. So as we come together in this time of sharing, let's affirm and center together, beginning with Unity's founding principle. If you'll say it with me. There is only one presence and one in the universe and in my life, God, the source of all good. And our Unity of Lawrence vision statement, united in divine love and joy, we celebrate a peaceful and abundant world for all. And our mission, we are a thriving spiritual community, sharing love, building bridges, and inspiring transformation. So now, please welcome Reverend Edna Mosher and Karen Langsford to the stage.
Good morning, everyone. So, a lot of you know the woman standing next to me. Karen Langsford has shared her love and her heart with this community as a prayer chaplain for a while. She also serves as our board member. And during the pandemic, as some people needed to make adjustments in their schedules and needed to step away from their roles in the prayer chaplain ministry, Karen has been there steadfast to guide this community, to offer those wonderful prayers, heart-centered prayers. So I'd just like to take this moment to acknowledge her. Would you all give her a round of applause? Thank you all so much. And you know I didn't tell her I was going to do that because. So this morning I would like to invite Betty Wilson and Diane Silver to join us on the stage here.
We got the memo, blue.
In the book of Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah is asked by God, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" Isaiah responds, "Here I am, send me." This morning, we take time to celebrate and recognize each of you, for you have said, "Here I am, send me." Heeding the call to be a prayer chaplain means you were first willing to participate in formal training. Fun at times, scary at times, but you guys did it. In addition, you've committed to holding a spiritual space, a possibility for others and yourself, knowing and trusting that the divine is in charge. you've committed to community principles and beliefs, and to holding all in sacred confidence. You have agreed to put this commitment into action by holding sacred space and praying with a prayer chaplain leader, attending meetings and annual trainings, and being punctual and actively participate in team discussions. So, dear ones, guided by the divinity within you, you are now at this moment of commitment. I invite you to your heart space, and if your heart says yes, I ask that you respond with the words, I am, to these questions. Are you willing to accept this commitment and dedication? Are you willing to remember to open a space for the divine no matter what?
I am.
Are you willing to do your best to stay prayed up?
I am.
Are you willing to support the other members of the prayer chaplain team?
I am.
And are you willing to practice self-care?
I am.
All right. In her book, Healing Letters, co-founder of Unity, Myrtle Fillmore wrote, as you learn to see the fullness of God's life and love and power and substance in others, you will know that you need not pour out your own for them. You will have the knowledge and the light to call their attention to what they have and to prompt them to use it. Blessed ones, on behalf of our entire Unity of Lawrence spiritual community, we are grateful for each of you, for your time, your energy, and your dedication. We are also grateful for the many visible and invisible blessings which will result from your loving service. You are indeed an incredible gift to this community. So let us give our new prayer chaplain team our Unity of Lawrence blessing. Let's rub our hands together. All right. And together, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you all.
Such power in threes as well. How perfect as we head into this time of year. Thank you for your service. And now, please welcome our special music guest, Catherine Lorenzen.
So I want to thank everyone for including me, continuing to include me in your virtual gatherings over this last year and a half. And I am so grateful to be back in this wonderful room. Thank you. This is a new song. I just wrote this a couple of months ago at Brave Voice, a creative retreat held by Kelly Hunt and Karen Miriam Goldberg. And this song is inspired by a couple of lines from a poem by Philip Booth called How to See Deer. And the lines in the poem are, wait without waiting and expect nothing always. And I co-wrote this with Cynthia Douglas Ibarra. This was one of those magical little songs that came together in one afternoon. I hope you enjoy it. Stand so still in reverie, you can hear the memory. Wait without waiting, expect nothing always. Step with adventure in your sight, treading lightly and with light. Wait without waiting, expect nothing always. Spare random spiders in your way, spinning ancient stories every day. Wait without waiting, expect nothing always. Look at the watercolor sky, greeting you with a sigh. Wait without waiting, expect nothing always. Both mind and matter in the wind, the miracle around you, take it in. Wait without waiting, expect nothing always. Let all the light you hold within shine upon yourself, let love begin. Wait without waiting, expect nothing always. Wait without waiting, expect nothing always.
Thank you so much. What power in such simple things, celebrating the present. And we have a presence among us that we have had speak here before. We are so blessed. Jay Pryor is a speaker, author, and executive coach from Lawrence, Kansas, with over 15 years experience helping humans access their most authentic power. Jay's signature process and book, Lean Inside, I need more of those, I've given mine away, uses mindfulness and neuroscience to create a powerful understanding of the human resource and emotional intelligence required and needed more than ever to be successful, connected, and happy in the world. Welcome, Jay Pryor.
Morning, everybody. It's so nice to be here when there's people. Last time I spoke, I think there were 8 people here. So the fact that we have almost 30, I think there's like 30 people in the room is pretty exciting for me. So thank you so much for having me. This has been an interesting week for me. So, sometimes when I speak, I'm so in it, and I've been living it, and it is the expression of myself. And sometimes when I speak, it's those who can't do teach. and when it comes to self-compassion, boy, this is about, not that I haven't lived it and I don't practice it, and it's wobbly. It could get wobbly for me. So, my name is Jay Pryor, and I'm a lay member of this congregation, and it's my delight to be with you today. And when Kathy asked me what I wanted to talk about, I've had this self-compassion as a topic for myself for quite a while. Probably about a year and a half, I've been in a really powerful inquiry around, well, I've always been in an inquiry around coming to love myself, because I am someone who started out my life really hating me, like really hating me. So getting to a place where I could even say I love myself was huge, right? It was like a huge breakthrough. So those of you who don't know my story, I was assigned female at birth. I walked through the world as a woman in woman's skin for 35 years, and then I took testosterone, and I walked around as an undercover white guy for 18 years. And in 2018, I went off testosterone and identify as a non-binary human. And yesterday was, boy, damn it, yesterday was Transgender Day of Remembrance. So if you're not familiar with that, November 20th of every year, we have a vigil where we acknowledge and memorialize the transgender humans, transgender and non-binary humans, who have been murdered or had their lives cut short through violence. This year there were 47 of them. And as always, there's a record number of black trans women and trans women of color are the predominant people who lose their lives. So this week, Trans Day of Remembrance Week, for me is always a little bit like, because I'm a trans educator, and I like to do it through humor and being funny and telling stories and having fun. And I do my best to just not focus on all the violence sometimes, right? I have to filter that. And as a queer person who's been out for over 35 years, I've always had to kind of compartmentalize that, right? I couldn't be present to the level of violence and hatred that comes at us on a regular basis and function, right? So Trans Day of Remembrance is that day where we kind of drop in, right? And we actually feel that. So when it comes to this idea of self-compassion, that's one of the ways that I be compassionate to myself, is that I let myself sometimes drop in and feel that, because I think for me, it's important to acknowledge that. And part of self-compassion is to acknowledge that there's stuff happens, right? And that there's violence in the world, and that there's hard stuff to deal with. And part of being a self-compassionate person is to not expect myself to barrel through that, right? So I want to acknowledge that and say that. I also had my booster shot on Wednesday, and I've been nauseous ever since. Well, I got nauseous 24 hours afterwards, and I've been nauseous ever since. So I'm a little nauseous. So that's what's going on over here. So that's what's happening while we're doing this. So I wanted to share because one of the things that I find powerful in my work is I'm somebody who has always been, at least since I was 18, a truth seeker. And I love the fact that at Unity we call ourselves truth students. And I just love that. I love being a truth student. It makes me happy. And I've always been a seeker. And so for me, coming to my own process, like when I became a coach, it's like I initially taught the process that I was taught in school, right? They taught me a way to coach. And eventually I found my own way to coach, and then I started documenting that, and then I started making it my own process. And one of the things I share in my book, the second step in my 7 steps to personal power, is constant forgiveness and practicing constant forgiveness. And I remember the day that I came to that on my own, that I knew that constant forgiveness was something I wanted to start teaching and something I wanted to start embracing for myself and knowing for myself. It was about 3 weeks to a month later that I was introduced to Edwene Gaines, who wrote the book 4 Spiritual Laws of Prosperity. And one of the first spiritual laws of prosperity is practicing constant forgiveness. So I was like, look at me. I had that figured out. Check. it feels really good to come to something on my own and then start teaching it and then start having spiritual teachers that I trust and love and know validate that. So I've been on this journey of self-compassion in the last year or so, and in this past year in particular, I've really like kind of stepped it up a little around self-compassion for myself, because I've come to understand that this principle and this knowing, and our second principle, that we always affirm and that there's one presence and one power in the universe, and that's God the good, and that second principle that it's in us, right, that includes us. And Karen Drecker said last week, I loved watching Karen Drecker, and she said last week, I second-guess myself about my talks. Like, should I talk about this? Should I talk about kindness? She's like, I always want to talk about kindness. And when she said that, I was like, me too. Like, every time I talk, I'm like, I second-guess myself. Should I stay on that second principle? Yep, because that's all I ever want to talk about. Because for me, the second principle is all that it's about. And that is knowing myself as you, and knowing ourselves as one, and knowing that God, the good, is all through here. And that's not my experience of life sometimes. What I've discovered is that when I have that knowing, then that it's easier to be compassionate for myself. So I've been on this journey of self-compassion, and I've really gotten to the point where I believe and know that every word I say, my body hears, and my being hears, and it resonates. So if I tell myself I love myself, I can actually say that and believe it, that it resonates in here, and then I feel better. And if I cuss myself out and tell me I'm a man, then my body hears it, and I feel it, and I resonate that. And so I've been in this journey of self-compassion and really starting to want to ramp it up and get bigger about it, and started to think about, like, what does it mean, and what am I doing that's not compassionate to myself? And Jessica and I are on a road trip with the kids, and we're coming back from Tennessee, and she puts on this podcast. And this podcast, and I can't remember the name of the podcast now, I apologize for that, but in the podcast there was a researcher, her name was Dr. Kristen Neff. And Dr. Kristen Neff studies self-compassion. And she tells this great story about how she's studying morality, and we all know, because we're true students, that when you study something like morality, you're going to go down a hellhole. I mean, we all know that, right? I mean, when you start studying something like that, you might as well just, you're going to slippery slope right down that morality train. But she has a great story about how her experiences in grad school and some of the things that she learned. But it had her start studying self-compassion. And bottom line, what she found out is that everything we've been taught our whole lives, especially those of you who are older than me, who were taught your best bet is to just suck it up and tell yourself to pull up your bootstraps and get your shit together, is absolutely the wrong thing. And that the harder you on yourself, the people who can actually access self-compassion produce better results. They're more successful. So her research is all about that, and you can go to self-compassion.org and read all of her stuff. But for me, remember the Edwin Gaines piece, right? For me, I was like, check, I just like being right. I was like, hell yeah, I'm right. I knew that. But it made me happy, because then I can refer people to her research and be like, see, I told you. So Kristen Neff has proved me right that self-compassion, and she has, like I said, you can go read her research. She has all these tips and tricks and blah, blah. But for me, I want to tell you about how I've done it and how I'm doing it and how I'm getting better at it, and to note that it is a work in progress all the time. So the first thing for me about self-compassion is to get that it's a commitment to yourself. And in my book, when I wrote my book, I really wanted to identify this thing that we call ourself. And I was sitting there one day pondering this self, because there's tons of books about self. And so I was pondering this one day, and I picked up a pen, and this happens to me sometimes, where I just wrote the acronym SELF, Self-Evolved Loving Friend. And then I gagged a little, because it was so cheesy, and I'm just like, okay, whatever, Jay. How are you going to sell that? Self-evolved loving friend. And I just tell you, that's a level of where my self-compassion was at the time, like you start to call me a loving friend. I'm like, whatever. Too cool for that. Anyway, so I heard self-evolved loving friend. I was like, I didn't want to say it, but I started thinking about it. And the reality is, the being that lives in me that is spirit is self-evolved. I mean, it's an evolved being, and it knows what I need, and it guides me like it's a spirit, and then it's always loving, like that. So we know at Unity that the force that is our source is good. So it's always a love. There's always love there, and if I can friend it, then there's power. And so I wrote my book, and in my book, I talk about this idea of yourself being your highest, best self. And what I know is that when you feed that, it feels good. And feeling good is what I want, because that's why I'm here. So feeding that, like being kind to myself, started to feel good. And the first thing it takes is a decision, a commitment. And it's a commitment that some of you, I think, have already made, and some of you maybe you haven't. Maybe you've never said, on this day, from this moment on, I am going to be on a journey of self-compassion. Like, I'm going to figure this out. In my work, I ask people to make a commitment to personal transformation, meaning ongoingly and forever, you're going to be transforming stuff. Same with self-compassion. When I decided that I was willing to go on and continue to keep doing whatever it took to come to a greater love to myself, this is a commitment for me, and a horse that will buck me off all the time. Right? So it's a horse that I have to constantly recommit to and get on over and over again because I do it and then I tank it, right? And so it's a commitment that I have to commit to and then commit to getting back on the horse over and over and over. In other words, committing to never, 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 ever, ever, ever quitting and getting better at self-compassion. Then the second step for me, and like I talk about everything, is practicing it. And the first practice is to note that whatever is going on with you, even if you are enraged, even if you're in a puddle, even if you have a stomach ache, even if you can't find your with both hands, like to give up that that's wrong. To give up that that's wrong. And instead to get, well, that's where I am. Because is it compassionate to yourself to expect yourself to be somewhere where you're not? Not only is it not compassionate, it's not sane. Because then you're arguing with reality. And the reality is, you are where you are. So if I'm mad at myself for being mad, I'm mad at reality. If I'm mad at myself for being sad, or I think I shouldn't be sad, or I think I should have it all together, I think anything about me that has me any expectation of where I am that I'm not is not in reality. It's arguing with reality. So that second step is really about like acceptance, constant forgiveness, this willingness to keep making progress rather than perfection. Because self-compassion, if anything that I've ever done in my life, this is the one that's the hardest to be. I can't even think to try to be perfect at it. Because I do, and that's when I'm already lost. It's already a game over, right? So it's this world of like, first we commit to it, then we have to do that acceptance and loving peace. Now, what helps me, and I am not because I want to be really, I've been really trying to be conscious with my words because I lie all the time. Humans lie all the time. We always say things like, gosh, I've been doing this lately. I did it once. Right? I mean, that's what we do. And I catch myself doing that all the time. So I was about to lie, so I'm going to not lie. Because I've never been a student in the Course in Miracles. I hang out with a lot of people that are, though. And I have, I've tried to do I've done some of the daily, and I've done some of the work, but I haven't. To say I'm a student of the Course in Miracles is a big fat lie. But I hang out with people who are. And I love them, and they're my teachers, and I believe the work, and I really, really, really do. And Lesson 41 in the Course in Miracles says God is always with us. Like there's never a time when God is not. And that's lesson 2 for us, or our second principle once again. It's like it's always there. We're always God. We're always with God. We're never separate from that. So if I can keep that, top of mind, it helps me have some self-compassion. Right? It helps me not to buy in to the story of my shoulding on myself, or I should be this and I should be that. And then the third step for me is mindfulness. So there's a big distinction for me in mindfulness around being conscious and what layers of consciousness I can get to. So when you first start out practicing self-compassion, the first layer of consciousness I would assert is how you talk to yourself and the things you think and the things you speak, because that's something that you can very quickly get control of. Not quickly or easily, but with practice. It's a muscle to flex for sure. So I ask you to start by looking at, how do you talk to yourself? And how do you talk to other people? Because what I want you to know is that when you talk to other people, you are talking to yourself all the time. If we're really living in principle 2, that I am you and you are me and we are one and all we are just one, then when I talk to you, I'm talking to me. And how I talk to you is how I talk to me. And what I notice is that people who are brutal with themselves, like really mean to themselves, can be really mean. And I know that because I could be really mean to myself and I could be really mean. And there are times, if I'm not conscious, that I can dip into that real brutal meanness with myself. And then I know that that can also come out at other people. And so how I talk to myself is so important. That's the first, I assert, basic level of consciousness in terms of self-compassion to start to keep our eye on, is how do we speak to ourselves? And can we start to adjust that? Now, Karen Drucker mentioned putting her hand on her heart. I do that. I give myself a pat on the chest, and I just say, it's okay, buddy, right? And sometimes that's all I can do. Like, that's all I can do is just give myself that little bit of like, it's okay. And that's what I try to do, especially when what's right there for me is you, worthless, right? That's what if I can stop that, right? And just get a pat on the chest, we've moved, we've shifted. That's a muscle that I've been flexing for a long time, and I still have to work at it. But how you talk to yourself, I would assert, is the number one piece. Beyond how you talk to yourself, then I would invite you to look at, what is it to be compassionate towards yourself? And I think the answer is, anything you wouldn't do to a child, you shouldn't do to yourself. So I wouldn't force feed a child a pint of ice cream that's lactose intolerant. I wouldn't do that, but I would do it to me. How jacked up is that, right? Is it compassionate to eat things that make your body sick? Is it compassionate to attend events where you feel isolated and freaked out? Like, I mean, it's just really easy when you think about, like, would I make a kid do that? And when I can say, I would never make a kid do that, then why would I ever make me do that? And it really is like a gauge for me that has tended to work recently. And it goes into literally all those little things that we do to ourselves that we would never ask other people to do, or we would never consider doing those to other people. Yet, well, I'll skip, something good for me to go grind it out at work if I think I need to. I wouldn't ask a kid to do that. I wouldn't ask any of you to do that. So it really comes down to that whole golden rule, is how I treat it's always about, can you treat others the way you want to be treated? And I want to flip that around and say, can you treat yourself the way you would want to treat others? Can you? And to note, it's a muscle, because you weren't trained that way. We were taught that you're supposed to be selfless and work your butt off and grind it out and not think about yourself, and that's selfish if you think about yourself, and it's just crazy. So I want to just flip that on its ear and say, can you love yourself the way you would turn that eye and love onto other people? And what I can tell you is that when you're willing to flex that muscle, that there are massive rewards, because what I've found is the more compassionate I can be with myself, first of all, the less physical sick I get. Like this nausea, that's hardly, I don't get sick. Like this is a weird thing for me. It doesn't happen. I'm physically well. I am happier in my life. I'm more balanced. And the biggest thing is that muscle of self-compassion, the bigger that I can and more compassion I can be for me, then the more compassionate I can be for other people. I find that when I'm compassionate with myself and loving myself and I'm on point, I'm not othering people as much. I'm not judging and assessing people as much. I'm not as angry. I'm happier. And so there's all these huge benefits of self-compassion. And then if you look at Kristen Neff's research, you're also going to be more successful, right? You can actually produce better results through self-compassion. All that to say that I feel like self-compassion is something that right now in our world, everybody's lacking. We have had a collective trauma. And trauma is one of the things that's interesting that the brain does with a trauma is it puts a time stamp on things. Like it's like that. And then our brain has trouble moving on beyond that, right? We just keep kind of coming back to that same time stamp over and over again. And right now, what it's going to take for all of us to be able to move beyond this, as far as I'm concerned, is a collective practice in self-compassion. And getting down to this knowing that who you are is that higher self within you is who you truly are. This skin bag, that's what's gonna disappear at some point, right? And we'll just turn into but that self that we are, that will always be there. When I talk on stage, I always tell people, because I'm not in church, so we're not gonna be using the word God or source or anything. I do use the word source sometimes. But I say to people, I call it life force, because there's only one thing, and it doesn't matter what religion you go to or what theology you espouse to or what spiritual thing you look to. There's really only one thing we know about this, what I call life force, and that's when you're dead, it's gone. Like, we don't know anything else. When you're dead, your skin bag is there, but I guarantee that life force is not there. I've seen a lot of dead people. Worked in a nursing home for 3 years. Ushered a lot of people to the other side. Once that spirit is gone, once that life force is gone, it's just skin bag. Just nothing there. And so that moves on. That's eternal, and I believe that just goes on. And so what's the point, right, of beating up on ourselves and being cruel to ourselves and all these things that we do to like just slave drive ourselves, right? It's so not worth it. What's worthy and what's good and true is to focus ourselves on who we truly are, and that's that life force, that love that guides us, that's always there. And so for me, it's a practice that I'm constantly taking on and invite you to take it on. And what I can promise you is that if you do take it on, if you really do take it on and make that decision and keep getting back on that horse, you'll start to see results, because self-compassion produces results. I want to leave you with a quote by Anais Nin. It's one of my favorite ones, and I usually use it when I'm doing a transgender talk. And I spoke it yesterday at our memorial, and that's, the quote says, "And the day came when the risk to remain tight in the bud became more painful than the risk it took to blossom." So I want you to know that some of you, like for me, for example, the more I beat up on myself, I'm not blossoming in that, right? That's that painful, right, staying tight in the bud, right, is that resistance and mean to myself and old patterns and all that. It does take a risk. It takes something to be willing to say, I want to blossom into somebody who loves myself and be that bold, right? It takes something. So I want to honor you for being willing to take that first step. Because when the day comes, when the risk to remain tight in the bud becomes more painful than the risk it takes to blossom, you will know yourself at a whole other level. Thank you for your time. Namaste.
is a river, a river of light and soul, a river of light and soul. Let us rise now and go to the river. Let us go. Let us go to the river of love, love, love. Let us go to the river of love. Joy, joy, joy. Joy is a river, a river of light and soul, a river of light and soul. Let us rise now and go to the river. Let us go. Let us go to the river of joy, joy, joy. Let us go. Let us go to the river of joy. Imagine what could be if you judge yourself a little less, and love yourself a little more, to bring the world more of your blessings. Peace, peace, peace. Peace is a river of light and soul, a river of light and soul. Let us rise now and go to the river. Let us go. Let us go to the river of peace, peace, peace. Let us go. Let us go to the river of joy, joy, joy. Let us go. Let us go to the river of love, love, love. Let us go. Let us go to the river of love. Let us go to the river of love.
I invite you into a time of meditation. You can situate yourself however you like. I invite you to know that as you listen to my words, I have my eyes open in the sanctuary. You are safe. The first thing I'd like to do is get us grounded. So I'd like you to imagine vines coming out of your body. Those of you that have your feet planted on the floor may have them come out of your feet. as those vines break through the cement in this building and bust down through the basement, go down into the earth. As those vines go down, down, down through the earth, passing the silt and the water and the sand. You can feel those vines moving down, picking up leaves and twigs, going down, down to the core of the earth, to the heart of the mother. Now, Mother Earth has been here this whole time, managing the planet, handling things. She's got it going on. I'd like you to anchor yourself to that core of the earth, that heart of the mother. Anchor those vines in some way. You can wrap them around the core. You can anchor them in any way that you see fit. I'd like you to imagine that good earth energy, that Mother Earth energy who is stable and well, loving, good earth energy. I want you to imagine it now coming back up those vines, back up to you, back up through the earth, gathering water, twigs, leaves. There's probably some bugs in there. That good earth energy coming up then back up to the earth's surface, back up through this building. Then I'd like you to feel that good earth energy coming up into your body as it raises up over your toes and your ankles. You can feel that good grounding earth energy. And I want you to know that you're safe. As that good earth energy comes up over your calves and your knees, comes up over your thighs and your pelvis. That good earth energy is up to your waist now, and you're planted and you're grounded. And I want you to say to yourself, I belong here. I belong here. Now I want you to take your focus onto your crown chakra, right at the tip of your head. If you had a natural birth into this world through your mother, it's the very first piece of you that ever came onto this planet, this plane. I want you to imagine source energy coming down as lavender light into that crown chakra. This is the energy from your source. It feels like sunshine when you're stepping out of a shady spot. That warmth, good, love energy coming down over your head and now over your forehead and your third eye. Coming down over your ears and your face. Down over your throat chakra and your shoulders. Coming down into your arms. When that good earth energy hits your heart chakra, it's like throwing open a pair of shutters. Imagine throwing your heart wide open. Wide open. And I want you to just be there for a minute, really grounded, with your heart wide open. You see, every single way that you're mean to yourself and every single way that you don't have compassion for yourself is all based on safety. We wired ourselves up to keep ourselves safe. I want you to know that you are safe and that you belong here. And this may be for those of you who haven't decided yet, and even if you have, I'd like you to right now, in this moment, make a decision. That from this second on, you are going to be someone who learns to be self-compassionate. and that you can do this. It's not something out there that only some people can do. Any of us can do this. It takes practice. I want you to know that you can be self-compassionate and that yourself deserves all the compassion in the world just for being here, just being part of all of us, of all that is, because it is. And so as we go into the silence, now that I want you to make that declaration to yourself. Just be there for a minute with this new commitment and listen in the silence. I have a knowing that you are loved beyond measure. I have a knowing that you are loved beyond measure. And my wish for you is for you to know this love from yourself. So as we start to come back into this moment, into the sanctuary, you can open your eyes if you feel comfortable, start to wiggle your fingers and toes. I have a knowing that you are loved beyond measure. I have a knowing that you are loved beyond measure. And I invite you this week to take that in for yourself. Namaste.
It is all in the moment, the meaning that we make. It is all in the moment, what we choose to give or take, how we see the picture, big or small, love is all, it's all in the moment. It is all in the moment. Que sera is in the moment. No matter how we've prayed, grace is well in the moment, coming to our aid, always to embrace us when we fall. Love is all, it's all in the moment. It is all in the moment. We lose ourselves in blame, take on the painful, covered in shame. When we forgive ourselves, we show the greatest kindness we'll ever know. There is peace in the moment when we take the time to breathe. There is peace in the moment, acceptance and release. Music of the Spirit, hear it call. Love is all, it's all in the moment. It is all in the moment. Oh, music of the Spirit, hear it call. Love is all, it is all in the moment. Oh, it is all in the moment. Oh, thank you.
So as our ushers are coming forward, thank you again, Catherine, for such beautiful music, and Jay for that moment of reminding that we all need. And so, let's take our offering in our hands, the gifts of who we are, and let us bless this together, saying, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And as we are collecting our offering, let's join with Holly in singing, I Am Loved.
You are seen, you are heard, you are loved for who you are. You are enough, you are complete. You are loved. I am seen, I am heard, I am loved for who I am. There is nothing I need to change. I am loved. I am loved.
And a reminder that if you would want to use a debit or credit card, you can stop by the office or give online via PayPal. And so now, as our ushers are here, it's our time to give our prayer of thanks together. Oops, nope, listening. Grateful, grateful, grateful. We bless the flow of good that supports our unity community. We bless the givers who give their time, talent, and treasure. We stand in the knowing that the flow of good goes forth only to return again and again, and so it is. Amen. It's all one river, and here we are in its flow. A special welcome to our guests today. Thank you for joining us. If you'd like more information about the Unity Movement and Unity of Lawrence, please feel free to pick up a welcome packet that's in our foyer. The lunch bunch today is meeting at Panera Bread. That's on 520 West 23rd Street. All are welcome. We do have Advent booklets available in the lobby for this year, so pick up your free copy today. And thank you for your donations for the Haskell students. We collected 5 large bags of coats, scarves, and gloves. We now have another opportunity to share with DARE, Drop In and Rest Center. There is a flyer in the lobby with the list of needs. Please bring your donation to Unity of Lawrence by Sunday, December 19th. And thank you so much for your generosity to our community. The 4th Sunday Drum Circle is next Sunday from 1:30 to 2:30 in the sanctuary. This is a monthly drum circle open to anyone interested in this spiritual practice. If you'd like to participate, you'll need to bring your own drum or any percussion instrument, or just come and listen. Please wear a mask, but everyone is invited. There is also a weekly open meditation group meeting in the sanctuary on Tuesdays at 6:30. The sessions are open to all and are beneficial for beginners and all. Again, as we wear our masks in this time, we can celebrate being together. It's also that time of year again where our Unity of Lawrence Board nominations are coming in. If you have been an active member of Unity of Lawrence, please consider applying to be a part of our Board of Directors by or before December 19th. If you have any questions, see Kathy Pryor or Kathy Moreland, or I'd be happy to visit with you as well. We're looking for 3 to 4 people to complete the 2022 board for Unity of Lawrence. You can pick up a term of either 1 or 3 years. Listen to your spirit and follow your divine calling of sacred service to Unity community. Applications are available in the lobby, and please let's welcome Cheryl Miller to share about her experiences on the board, or Kathy Pryor, or me.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. Yes, Cheryl and I switched it up. She's going to do next week. I wanted to talk with you not just about the board, but a couple of other things. First of all, I hope we didn't scare you too much when you walked into the sanctuary today and we were in a circle. We had a meeting with Robin Goff, and gosh, I think there were 16 or 17 of us there. And one of the themes that kept coming up yesterday and has come up a lot lately is our energy. We've had several, congregants say, gosh, the energy is just so low. So as we were talking about ways that we can really fire each other up, it's like, let's just move the energy around just a little bit and see what happens. So it was spontaneous. I do have to say that I apologize to Kathy Moreland because we surprised her and she is our logistics queen. And that was not fun. That was not very kind. So I'm working on my self-compassion because I feel bad about that. But I'm telling you, if you like it, would you please tell us? Because we're really trying hard to say, what do we need to do to break out of our old ways of doing things? And we want your ideas. If nothing else, it moved energy today, don't you think? So, yes. So I wanted to let you know about that. Also, I just want to make sure you all know how much the board is working hard for you, and we're having a fantastic time. It is challenging, that is for sure. I don't know if some of you realize we have a new HVAC system. We had a situation where our HVAC just completely blew. It was way too old to do anything about it. So we've worked through with Polly and the board about how we could possibly, put in a new HVAC system. We can't live, of course, with heat or without the heat and the air. So we did refinance the building, and we got a great interest rate. As a matter of fact, our payments are just a little bit lower, and we were able to take out enough money to purchase and install a new HVAC system. So that's one thing we've been doing. As you can see from the announcements, we've got drumming once a month, we've got meditation every week. So we're really trying hard to provide things for you that will give you an opportunity to grow with us in unity. I also want to give a shout out right now to Reverend Edna, because she is with us, and gosh, she does so much. I don't know how many of you have an opportunity to know her. She is our spiritual advisor. I want to thank her for all her work. She's working right now. We've got a new membership class going. She helped us with the book club that we were doing. And of course, we want to give a big shout out to our new prayer chaplains. Karen Langsford has been helping us for so long. Diane Silver and Betty Wilson, thank you. Thank you so much. So that's what we do on the board. I'm telling you what, I think out of all the meetings, and I've been on the board now 5 years, I think maybe there was one, maybe two meetings when at the end of the meeting, my heart was not about to explode from warmth and love. And I do mean that. I tell you, there's something about the working with the people who have the same values, the same spirit that we do, that we are. I am, you are. I'm finally figuring that out, y'all. And I really want you to know that you will get so much out of being a board member. If you are at all piquing at interest, if you're a person who loves to give and loves to be of service, it's a wonderful combination. It's a great group to be with. So please think about filling out an application. And with that, I'll say, have a wonderful afternoon. Thank you.
Five years since you said yes, you'd be on the board to me? She's right. It is a gift to give yourself to serve at that level. That is a beautiful, beautiful thing. And we are grateful for our board that we have and look forward to new as we move into a new year. Well, now it is time. Oh, first, join us next week as Reverend Jen Hutchins brings us the message 1-800-ALL-GOOD. And our special music is Millie Webb. Now it's time. We don't need to sing in our youth. We're just going to sing in each other in our circle of love. And so we're going to sing You Are Walking in the Light to ourselves across the circle.
You are walking in the light, in the light, in the light. You are walking in the light of God. In the light, 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 in the light of God.
Is to remember self-compassion, lovely lights that we all are. And should we bless each other? Yeah, let's do that. Why not? Let's rub our hands together and let's say to each other, we love you, we bless you, we appreciate you, and we behold the divinity in you. Yeah, and now let's join Holly in singing the peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. With God our Creator, united all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let this begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my song of love.
And as we lower our hands, let us say the prayer of protection together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God washes over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.